Welcome to Satsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Satsunami. I'm Satsunami and joining me in the spookiest month of the year is the one and only sandwich who wants to be the very best, like no one ever was, that of course being Adam. Adam, welcome back.
Hello, good to be back. And I wish I could remember more lyrics to that song, but I'm desperately racking through my childhood memories, but all I can remember is the lines you just quoted. So there we go. What a disappointment to start this episode off with.
You were a Digimon fan, weren't you?
I think the only time in my life that I've ever been a quote-unquote hipster was for like a 1 week period in primary school when I saw a couple episodes of Digimon and I was like, this is better than Pokemon, and I went and told everybody in my class and I was like, yeah, you guys are lame. I know it was really cool. And then I stopped. I've never become a hipster since.
I can just imagine like all these thuggish 5-year-olds just like cracking their knuckles like, hey, you wise guy, eh?
I got beaten up a lot that week.
You stood for what you believed in. It's better than the Salvation Kids.
Exactly, that's true. I was hanging next to him off the jungle gym. Both of our butt cheeks being showed to the world.
If you want to know what we're talking about, go listen to our Terminator Salvation episode. I just want to point that out. I want context laid out right now.
It's not much better with the context, to be honest, but go listen to the context at least.
Yeah, please do. So, yeah, by that very visceral intro, today we're going to be talking about Pokemon. And would you believe it? This is the second episode that we've talked about Pokemon on the series.
Like, so something, so I know it's a franchise that, has been very important to you over the years and stuff. So it's good to be like getting back into it again. And I think this is the first one that I've been on to do Pokemon. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I keep saying to you, oh, go on. Why don't we? So yeah, today we are going to be talking about what it would be like to live in the Pokemon world. And let me tell you right now, boys and girls and men and women listening, it would be hell. I'm just going to throw that.
Wow, you didn't even try and sugarcoat that one.
No, usually how I always balance the argument. I say, there's some good points or some bad points. No, this would be straight up hell. See if you convince yourself otherwise that living in the Pokemon world would be anything but a hellscape. What is wrong with you? I just want to point out as well, we're not going to be treading over old ground. We're not going to be going into it's 10-year-olds fighting with monsters and the people, Adam, where they say really milquetoast criticisms of video games like Mario Eats Mushrooms, where the Sonic stories rings, Halo's a stupid name, those kind of people.
Oh, I love those people. But not really.
Do you know what actually reminds me of? And this is going to be a really weird side tangent, but the Pokemon universe actually reminds me of when I was in history class in school and our teacher told us that he was talking to this student one time who wanted to be a vet. And apparently this student had turned around and said, oh, I would love to be a vet. I can't wait to deal with all the cute animals and all the puppies and the kittens. I think it was a bit of a killjoy, but he was like, you do realise you're going to have to do some really nasty shit to these animals. You're going to have to take their temperatures in certain places. You're going to have to, do all these grimy things. And apparently the student was very much like, no, I would just deal with the cute ones. And he was just shaking his head as if, no, you wouldn't. That's how I feel about the Pokemon universe. It's like, it looks cute and cuddly on the outside, but there's a lot of shit you're going to have to put your hands on.
You tell me you don't fancy shoving a thermometer up Charizard's ass.
The thermometer would break.
That's a good point, actually. They must have special ones. There must be like a special thermometer for a situation like that.
So, Adam, what's your relationship with Pokemon?
I was a little bit late to the Pokemon party, but I played Blue, and I really enjoyed it. I had a deep love for it. And I also played some of Yellow. I didn't finish Yellow, but I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed some of the anime I would watch when it was on. I still have Pokemon cards, and that was all the rage at school at the time, as I'm sure you probably remember as well, Satsu. However, after that, I kind of fell away from the Pokemon franchise. I think a lot of it was that I didn't get any kind of Nintendo consoles after. I had a Game Boy Advance, but but I didn't get like gold or anything like that. But like after that, I mean, I didn't really get any Nintendo console, so I kind of fell away from the franchise, and I really had no kind of interest. My kind of gaming interest went other directions, and then when I got a Switch, I got a copy of Sword, I believe, and I played a little bit of Sword, but I didn't really get too far into it, and I just sat there. And this is not me taking a shot at the franchise at all. It's more me. This is more a me problem than the Pokemon problem. I just don't think it's quite a game for me. It's just not something that I enjoy as much as other games. And if you enjoy it, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, I mean, I encourage you. Like what you like, but it's not something not a game series that really appeals to me, I have to be honest. But I certainly loved playing Blue. And yeah, like, I mean, I enjoy talking about it as well, because I think it's a fascinating universe that's been built up.
No, going back to an earlier point you made there, I totally agree with the Pokemania that absolutely swept through the country. If you want to hear more about, especially my experience and friend of the channel Craigie C's experience with Pokemania during the 90s and the early 2000s, definitely go listen to our episode on Pokemania. Yeah, the long and the short of it was I was in a similar boat of being swept up in Pokemania. My first game was actually Pokemon Yellow. I would watch the anime. I was really obsessed with it for the longest time. I even completed the Pokedex in Pokemon Silver, I want to say. I ended up playing Ruby and Sapphire, and I think around that kind of time when I was starting to get into high school, I was moving a little bit away from Pokemon, because I've said this story many times, but there was a point in my life where I actually moved away from kind of childish games, quote unquote, like Pokemon, Sonic, and I thought, oh, because I'm getting older, I have to go to play more mature games, if that makes sense. Like, oh, your Call of Duties, your Halos, which is a stupid thing to say, but back then, as a kind of insecure child, you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be playing these baby games. But it came full circle again, where after school I got back into them, played them, absolutely loved them. But again, I'm kind of the same, Adam. I'm not really as passionate about the series as I used to be. I mean, I've still played, I think the latest game I played is Pokemon Arceus, and as well the Diamond and Pearl remake and Sword and Shield, which they're okay. I mean, they're good enough games, but the more you read into this like expansive lore, and this is what actually inspired this episode, the more like you read into the later games, especially games like Sun and Moon and the remakes for Sapphire and Ruby, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you realise that there is a lot of dark content in these games. It's no longer you're just like a tiny pixel boy picking your first animal to be friends with, and you walk around the country and go, I'm gonna fight with Pokemon. You know, it's all very colourful and relatively kid-friendly, but the more you kind of peel back the facade, as it were, it gets really dark really fast. And without really spoiling anything, I sent you a couple of points. Has it changed your mind about living in the Pokemon universe? Yeah?
I mean, I feel like it changed a lot about me. I feel like, again, my childhood was shattered all over again. You Robocopped me, basically, with those facts. But no, they were certainly eye-opening. I won't lie. I was sitting on the bus today coming back from work, and I was like, well, how about this?
Yeah, will we just jump into it?
Let's do it. Let's jump into the mire.
Let's get our hands on some Pokeballs and listen to these messages, and we will be right back. Welcome to Satsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Satsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Satsunami, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
Hello, Mel.
Hello, Holly. We're Witch Murderer.
We are Witch Murderer.
And yeah, you never want to be in a situation where you're with a group of people and you're deciding who you're going to eat. This week's episode is divorce murders.
You mean evidence for our future trials?
Yes.
Yes.
However, unlike the first two victims, Virginia's body was melted to make soap.
What? Why?
Witch Murderer is hosted by Spreaker. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Email us at witchmurderer@gmail.com or visit our website at witchmurderer.com. We are also on Instagram and Twitter. Just look for the @witchmurderer account or hashtag. On our Facebook page and group interacting with other listeners or the Witch Murderer team.
This episode is sponsored by Zencastr. Zencastr is an all-in-one podcast production suite that gives you studio quality audio and video without needing all the technical know-how. It records each guest locally, then uploads the crystal clear audio and video right into the suite so you have high quality raw materials to work with. For more information on how you can get 30% off a Zencastr professional account, please check out the code in the bio. So where do you want to start with this, Adam? Because this is a very extensive topic we're going to jump into.
Well, can I ask what is potentially a very dumb question? And if this is a very dumb question, please just feel free to call me out here. But in the Pokemon universe, is everything centered around Pokemon?
Yes.
So, like, literally, if I was just living my daily life, there's nothing I could do that was, like, not some way of not Pokemon-based. Can you just not be a part of Pokemon?
I mean, it's almost a bit like if you hated animals and you tried to get away from that, but every single place was like an offshoot of the Rainforest Cafe.
Everyone's got like an aviary or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore it when you've got like a Machamp delivering your mail or something.
Oh my god, so there's literally no escaping then. So if I'm in this world, right, I get up. Do you think as well, right, okay, do you think it's kind of like I've recently started watching that TV series The Boys, which I know you've seen as well, Satsu. Is it like I wake up, right, okay, and I go down to have my breakfast and I like I get my cereal out of the cupboard and it's like Machamp flakes or something like that, or like is everything going to be like sponsored by some kind of like Pokemon or something, and then I'm going to like get my mug of tea and it's going to be like a growly on the mug or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
So that there is literally no escaping this then?
Oh no, absolutely not. Like, you would go to, the shops in the corner, there would just be like a Pokemon centre there. You go to pick up a pint of milk, it would be beside the potions and the Pokeballs. Yeah, there is a very Poke-centric society, I would say.
That's a good point. Are there other stores apart from the Poke store?
No, I don't, well... Well, no, let me backtrack. If you go into the bigger cities, a bit like I was going into like Edinburgh or Glasgow or somewhere, there's a department store and a gambling shop.
Here's a question. Where do I get a pint of milk and a loaf of bread?
Good question.
Do I have to go out and catch it with my Pokeball and then find the wild jug of milk running around?
Well, there is actually oh god, I can't believe I'm explaining this. There's an actual cow Pokemon called Miltank.
Oh,
and they actually do sell, at least in Johto anyway, I don't know if they sell it in other regions, but they sell something called Moo Moo milk.
Oh, of course they do.
So I don't think either of our like anxieties would hold up going into a shop asking for Moo Moo milk. It's like when you go into Greg's and you ask for a Yum Yum, you just sound like an idiot.
Oh my god. No, I couldn't live in this world. I can't do that every day. Oh my god.
We haven't even started talking about it.
Right, hang on, but what if you're a vegan in this world? Does the Moo Moo produce like vegan milk?
Does a cow produce vegan milk?
Are you just screwed?
Is
there a soy-based Pokemon that produces?
You can milk an Oddish.
Oh! That's the worst thing you've ever said in any of the episodes. They're poisonous though, right? Isn't there the ones that like spores come out of?
No, that's Gloom and like Vile Bloom.
No, but like, Oddish is like a poison-based one, isn't it?
No, it's grass type in its first form.
Oh,
so you're safe.
I'm safe then, so I go milk and Oddish, I'm all fine. I'm glad to know the plant-based Pokemon.
It's rich for its milk, apparently.
Oh, God.
I don't know why you'd milk it. You know what, moving on. Like, don't get me wrong, in the anime, they obviously expand on it, and it's like, oh, there's hotels and things like that, and there obviously are shops and restaurants where you can get food, but, like, in the games, obviously there's a reason for that, but in the games, it's very, at least in the early games, it's very limited, because the only place you're buying things is, or rather, the places you're exploring is the Pokemon Center, the Pokemart, or someone's house.
That's fair. Oh, yeah.
Now that would be a bad thing. Like, even before we've taken one step out the door, can you imagine sleeping in your bed and you wake up to like this child breathing heavily over you and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Who are you? And they feel like, one up.
Pokemon
It's like,
here.
you want a battle? It's like, no, you child, get out of my house. Get your slimy, like, Bulbasaur out of here.
Does stranger danger exist in the Pokemon world? Because it seems everybody's like standing around just like desperately trying to make eye contact with everybody to fight them.
God, that's my nightmare. Having to have social interactions by doing eye contact.
But as well, like, it's like the most awkward form of social contact. 'Cause it's literally just people standing there trying to get in your way. Like, so, you know, it can be awkward enough sometimes just going about your daily business when there's other people just going about their daily business. But these are people deliberately trying to fuck with you and, like, trying to, like, you know, trying to get in your way and, like, mess your day up, basically, by fighting you and stuff. It's, like, the worst. That's honestly the worst thing I can think of.
I mean, imagine trying to go to the city and then, do you know what would be the worst? Imagine you go to the city, right? You get in a bus or whatever, which I think Generation 5, I will admit, that kind of expanded more in like towns and cities, and there's like a huge city halfway through the game that you can go to, and they've got different shops where it's like you can buy ice creams and things like that. That's pretty cool. But speaking beforehand, imagine you're on a bus, right? You're going there, and then let's say, I don't know, a oddish running away from a vegan gets run over by the bus. So the bus blows a flat tire, right? And then you're sitting on the bus and you're looking outside, and then all of a sudden you just see this face pressed up against the window, and it's this like bug catcher or something asking you for a battle. What do you do then? Do you accept it? Do you just ignore them? Do you put your AirPods in? What do you do there?
It does seem like the minute you make eye contact, that's like a verbal agreement in the Pokemon universe that you're going to have to battle. Like it's the equivalent of like an old-fashioned like slap with a glove. The minute you've locked eyes, you must do battle to the, not death, but you know, to the fainting.
Do you think people don't make eye contact in the Pokemon world because of that?
Yeah, why would you ever make eye contact with anybody? Do you know what? It's like this. Apologies for this going slightly dark. I imagine it must be kind of what it's a little bit like in America, where you're just around being like, I wonder if this person has a gun. You're like, well, I hope this person doesn't have like a fucking row of like Pokeballs ready to like battle me with. You know, like you'd be terrified to like have any contact with anybody.
Well, you totally would. You'd be looking at people's shoes going, oh, nice shoes. Oh, nice trainers.
I'm quite the connoisseur of footwear.
God, can you imagine business meetings in this world?
Do people have business meetings? How can you have a business meeting, as you say, when the minute you make eye contact, you're going to have to like fucking fight the chief financial officer? Do battle in the boardroom.
What I love is, see the image of like, I don't know, Dave from accounting having to do a presentation. He looks up and all his colleagues are holding Pokeballs ready to chuck them. I didn't want to come in today. I had a sick day. To be fair though, in Generation 5, and that is one of my favourite generations, that's why I'm simping so hard over it, but in Generation 5 they do kind of expand a little bit more, where they have like business people, although then again some of those battle you, so that makes my point entirely moot.
You can't escape it. It's just like, that's why my first question was, is there anything in this universe that doesn't revolve around me having to like have a team of Pokemon to like battle other people? How do you get like do you have to go out and catch a Pokemon base? I know, because I know like in the games you'll meet, well, I don't know some of the later games, but I know in some of the early games it was like you'd meet whichever professor it was and they'd like gift you a Pokemon. Presuming that I don't have connections like that to, you know, the Pokemon intelligentsia, do I just
The Pokemon intelligentsia.
Do I have to like just go out and find a Pokemon just because if I don't, I'm going to be like some massive social outcast?
Welcome to Pokemon Agoraphobia edition.
Oh my god. But you had a good point though as well. I remember you, when we were discussing this episode, talking about just the general fear of leaving your house just because of what Pokemon are flying about, like rummaging around out in the world.
Oh yeah, can I just point this out? In real life, I am not a fan of bees, okay? Not a fan of wasps either. I'm actually terrified of wasps. Bees, I'm kind of starting to build relationship, you know? Like I'm building that relationship up to be like, I don't want to, you know, still I'm not a big fan of them, but I don't wish any harm on them. Wasps, you know, different story. There is a Pokemon, in case anyone's not aware, there is a Pokemon that is just a literal massive wasp called Beedrill. The clue's in the name. It's a bee, and it's got drills, both sticking out its butt and as hands. That sounds terrifying. That sounds like my worst nightmare. I don't know what's worse, the bee drill or the big massive spiders that you see deep in the forest. See, if I was born in Kanto, the first region, I would not be able to go through Viridian Forest. I would have to save up for an Uber. I would have to beat the child or the children in front of Viridian Forest every day just so I could save enough money for an Uber to get safely through Viridian Forest. And I'm not getting out of that car. You seen bee drills? You seen weedles? Like big pincery things? No, Adam, I'm not getting out the Uber. No.
Also, as well, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Perhaps this isn't in the same region, but there's a Pokemon called Pineco, right? That freaking explodes. Where are those? And like, how do I avoid those at all costs?
They would be in Johto.
Okay, so I don't have to. If I'm in Kanto, I don't have to. I just got to worry about the massive bee drills, not.
Well, to be fair, Johto is like literally beside Kanto.
Oh god!
So if you're taking a gap year, yeah, you're going to get blown up in the forest.
Is there a rivalry between Johto and Kanto? Is there like pranks where like kids from like Johto gather together a whole ton of Pinecos and like throw them over the border fence into Kanto?
Well, bar the fact that sounds like a horrid war crime.
She does sound like it looks a bit on Papers, Please, doesn't it? Like some.
So, like, what, the Johto kids throw Pinecos and the other kids throw Voltorbs. Boom, there you go.
Kids of these days.
Well, technically, they share the same authority figure. They both have the same Elite Four. Which is weird to think about because, going slightly off topic, but there is no centralised government in this world as far as I know. I don't know if it's different for the anime, I don't know if it's different for the manga, but it seems like a very power-based society. It's like, you know how people really crap on Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, you're only allowed to vote and you're only allowed to be in positions of power if you go and fight. Explain the Elite Four. Like, 4 of the most powerful trainers plus 1 champion, so that's 5 trainers making the decisions on behalf of the populace, all because they're the strongest in the region. Is there a king? Is there a queen? Is there government? Like, what is going on in the Pokemon universe?
Well, I think we may have found potentially our first positive here. So this does sound like a very, very loose central authority here. So I'm guessing tax collection isn't that rigid, so perhaps you can get away with not paying your taxes.
If in real life you could avoid paying your taxes, but a bee or like a spider the size of like a German Shepherd came up to you, is it worth it, Adam? Is it worth it?
You're probably not right. You know, HMRC doesn't seem so bad now when you compare it to that as well. Like, oh, do you know something else I just thought about, right? Have you ever been anywhere, right? You've been walking somewhere. Maybe you need to like go under like an underpass, or you need to go under a bridge or something like that. And you see some teens lurking about and you like, do you ever stop and be like, do I want to go under this underpass, I wonder, or do I want to try and find another way? Like, imagine that scenario, but like, the teens hanging about have a Charmeleon with them. You're definitely not going through the underpass, are you?
That literally happens in Pokemon Silver.
Really?
Yeah, you go to, I think it's Goldenrod City, which is like the big city of that region, and you go on the underground, and later in the game you find out there's like a Team Rocket base there. Spoilers. You go there, and yeah, there's loads of adults as well. But the weird thing as well is you can actually take your Pokemon to get their hair cut there. So it's like
happening on there? A thriving community.
Yeah, you can like buy incenses for them, you can buy haircuts for them, you can get tackled by a cue ball. Their words, not mine. And before anyone's wondering, cue ball isn't the name of a Pokemon. I mean, it's a balding, fat, middle-aged man who's like fighting a 10-year-old, which...
That's the most terrifying thing so far.
Exactly. And I mean, there's just so much. Like, we haven't even left the house yet, okay? You're still in the house.
My milk yet from... I haven't got my Moo milk yet. I'm having to eat my Machamp flakes like dry.
I can imagine the horrible, sad crunch. What do Machamp... Here's a question. What does Machamp crunches look like? Is it cutouts of Machamp, or is it cutouts of, like, the underwear?
Oh... I was thinking like one of his biceps, but like I love the underwear idea so much that it has to be that. Oh my god.
The breakfast of Machamp.
The Machamp. Oh
Nintendo, if you haven't switched off by now, we're free. You can sponsor.
So many ideas. Do you know what I think the first thing? But right, so we have to leave the house. Okay, let's just say for some reason we have to leave the house.
You can't make me, Adam.
Right, okay, we have to. I don't know why, but we have to. Okay, the Beedrill's got inside the house. Like, we forgot to close one of the windows, and it's... Well, actually, let's be honest, it's just fucking smashed its way through the window because it's got drills for hands. So it's in the house, so we need to get out. What kind of insurance options are there? Because I feel like I need to get myself some personal insurance if I'm walking around this world. Do you think this is a thriving industry?
I think it would be a very legal grey area, because in the Detective Pikachu film, they do joke about that, because the main character's like an insurance salesman before he goes over and sees his dad and all the Pokemon hijinks happen. But like, as boring as it is, I would be so interested to see that, because I'm like, what phone calls do you think he gets? Oh yeah, my Charmander's burnt down my house. How many times has that been? Oh, it's the third time. Right, well sir, we can't help you, but I'm going to be homeless. Boop, puts down the phone, that's it. What if some kids are playing, right, and they think it's a football, and instead they don't realise it's a Voltorb, and then or an Electrode, and it's like they kick it into someone's house, and it's like this poor old wee granny knitting, and then all of a sudden it blows up. Like, who's to blame there? Is it the kids? Is it the granny for not, like, Pokemon proofing their windows? Who's to blame there?
The legal system must be such a nightmare, as you say, like, trying to... Yeah, because how responsible are you for your Pokemon? It's such a good point. As you say, like, if I do get, like, if I get a fire-based Pokemon and it burns something, am I responsible for that? Or do I claim, well, it's a fire-based Pokemon, what can I do? God, imagine, like, the Judge Judy in the Pokemon universe, the cases you'd hear on that, like, oh my god. My neighbour's Gyarados crushed my car or something, or, like...
What, or my husband ran away with the Mr. Mime?
Oh no! Do you know what? I think that this is my ultimate problem. Like, despite all the other problems that we've just listed here, my ultimate problem, and the reason I can't live in the Pokemon universe, is I don't think I can exist and I can live in a world where Mr. Mime exists.
He is nightmare fuel for you.
He is the most terrifying, one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life. And I've always felt this way ever since I've seen him. He freaks me out more than anything. So I don't know what would happen if I saw Mr. Mime. I might faint. I might just die on the spot. I might, like, fly into a rage and try and destroy. I have no idea. I don't know what would happen.
I just imagine the headlines now. Local man leaves his house after 30 years. First thing he does is punch a Mr. Mime.
So let's say I go out and I punch a Mr. Mime in a rage, right? Do I go into the court? What am I being charged with? Is that like the equivalent of animal abuse here? Or do I have to, like, is that a crime against the owner's property?
See, here's an interesting point, actually. You know how, obviously, if you are, like, a podent in real life and you do abuse an animal, and rightfully so, you get stripped of the rights to, like, have another pet, have another animal. How does that work in the Pokemon universe where everything is Pokemon-centric?
Because you can just go out and catch one, right, as well. Like, there doesn't seem to be any oversight authority. That you don't have to declare a Pokemon, do you?
No, you don't even need, like, a license or anything for Pokeballs. You could just, like, go to the... God, I'm imagining someone at night going to, like, the Pokemart, you know, hood up, sunglasses on. He's like, give me 5 Pokeballs. Will that be all, sir? No, that's it. Thank you. And he goes out and he catches, like, a Pidgey.
What's it, like 5 Pokeballs and, like, oh, get the stick of gum as well? Like, that'll throw them off.
Sorry, sir, that's Pokegum. And he just, like, goes into a rage. Or the gum's a Pokemon, I don't know.
Oh, God! Oh, it probably is as well. It will be eventually, when they run out of ideas.
I know people joke about that, and they're like, oh, Pokemon's run out of ideas, but there's some Pokemon you just look at and think, really? A set of keys? I'm not even joking, by the way.
Are my keys a Pokemon from my house?
There are key Pokemon, by the way.
Is that the only keys I can get in this universe?
No, I'm sure you can probably get.
I can get a non-Pokemon set of keys. Okay, that's one thing at least. So we've walked out of the house. But, you know, actually, you bringing up Pidgeys there brings me to another thought I had. Does the concept of, like, vermin exist in the Pokemon universe? So, like, if there's, like, a ton of Pidgeys around, is that something I need to be worried about? If I go into a restaurant and the chef has a Rattata, is that something that I should be concerned about? Or am I just be like, oh, well, that's fine?
What, you mean like Rattata 2?
Yeah, like Rattata 2, exactly. Like, do I need to be concerned? Should I be like, that's a health code? Or do health code violations exist?
Good question. And that brings up another point as well, because technically in the anime and technically in the games, they do allude to the fact that Pokemon are eaten. What hierarchy exists? You know, it's like, I was actually explaining this to my partner earlier when I was telling her that we were doing this episode, but it's like, imagine you caught a Miltank or some kind of pig Pokemon, like a T-Pig or something like that, and you think, oh, I'm going to raise this and it's going to be the bestest boy in the world, and then you wake up the next day and like your farmer dad or farmer relatives like killed it and turned it into beef burgers. Moo burgers, if you will. What if you were going to like the Pokemon championships and then you have to throw out a burger? Just the look of sadness, you would just be like, oh man, this is the third time this week. But here's the thing as well.
Wait, no, hang on. What kind of dick parents are like, oh, Dad, like, I'm off to the thing. Did you pack my Pokemon away? Oh, yes, son, I've popped it in your Pokeball. The kid throws out a Pokemon on a fucking burger. Like, fuck. I want to call Pokemon Child Services about that if such a thing exists.
I don't think Pokemon Child Services does exist, to be honest.
Oh, well.
I know we said we weren't going to go into that territory of, oh, Pokemon is like kids fighting with animals, but yeah, if you're given a 10-year-old license to carry like a monster in their pocket, you're going to get some severe issues.
And then they just seem to be able to just like wander around the world, and like there doesn't seem to be that much where they can go fight the mafia if they want.
Oh god, can we talk about the crime in this world?
To crime.
Right, okay, let's go into the crime. Terrorism, but fun, okay? That's what Pokemon is. It's colourful terrorism. You know, in Gen 1 and 2, we've got Team Rocket, who are, as you said, the Mafia. And these teams get progressively worse, can I say? So you've got the Mafia, your stereotypical soprano figures, the hey, and all of that. You've got Gen 3 and again Gen 6, so the remake, you have Team Aqua and Magma, who both want to induce a drought or a flood. They want to cover the region either in water or sunshine, which again, eco-terrorism. Gen 4, they have a cultish team called Team Galactic who want to control time and space. Interdimensional terrorists, I suppose.
Wow.
Generation 5, you have Team Plasma, who are like meant to be their version of PETA, and they are quite manipulative. They're like, oh, release your Pokemon, and the caveat behind that is, oh, it's because we want to take over the world, which I have to admit, they did that quite well in that one, but you're always going to get like Pokemon rights groups and things like that, and sweaty hikers trying to pull you into a Ferris wheel, which is an actual scene in black and white. Trust me, look it up.
Wow.
Fresh with dialogue such as, oh, it's getting hot in here, boy. You're like, oh no, I want out. Let me out. So, Generation 6, we have Team Flare, which, while not as memorable, want to, I think they want to cull a certain percent of the planet because they want to activate like a super weapon. Gen 7 isn't as bad, I will say. Gen 7's more like these kind of, like street thugs, and it's the same with Gen 8 because you've got Team Skull and Gen 7 with Sun and Moon. The only team that's really a threat is, I think it's the Aether Foundation, who they study aliens, and we will get on to the Ultra Beasts and things because they are nightmare fuel. Then, yeah, Generation 8, we've got, is it Team Yell in Sword and Shield?
I don't think I got as far as finding out the team, I have to admit.
They're not great. They're just like cheerleaders, essentially. They're useless. But also, if we want to go to the spin-offs, we have Team Snag'em in Pokemon Coliseum, who, as the name suggests, they steal Pokemon, and they have a machine you strap to your arm where you can actually steal other people's Pokemon. And you've got Team Cypher, who literally kidnap people and they genetically alter other Pokemon.
Huh.
Did I mention the kidnapping? Because there's a lot of that going on in Team Cypher, as well as genetics, as well as potential world domination. Where do you want to start, Adam? Which region would you like to start in?
That's really their big thing then, that is the kidnapping, Team Cypher. That's really what they're all about, I mean, along with the genetics and everything.
Well, I mean, see at the very beginning, the only reason I bring that up is because at the beginning, the only reason you meet your sidekick in the game is because they found a Skittle called, I think it's Rui, but you can change the name as you wish. They find a Skittle who can see shadow Pokemon, but the whole like gimmick of the game is only the Skittle can see shadow Pokemon, nobody else can. So it's like almost the perfect crime. But she goes to like a bad part of town and she points out and says, hey, that Pokemon looks weird. To which these thugs basically tie her up, shove her in a bag, and then try to like cart her off. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this game got dark. Like Pokemon Coliseum is a whole bag of worms on its own. Well, sorry, I'm not calling her a bag of worms. I just whole situation is a bag of worms. Where do you want to begin with crime in the Pokemon universe? So we're out for our moo milk, right?
So literally, right, okay, what you're telling me is all this time I've been panicking about being attacked by a Beedrill or like seeing Mr. Mime and not knowing how I'm going to react. When actually the thing that I need to be most worried about is being kidnapped or like getting caught up in like crime business. Is that what I really need to be concerned about?
Pretty much, yeah. Maybe not in the early regions. Fortunately, there's not a lot of kidnapping. In fact, no, sorry, I take that back. There's a lot of hostage situations. With Team Rocket, not only do they take over a office building, which completely, that would screw me over because I work in an office, and they also take over a radio tower in Generation 2 with silver, gold and crystal. So yeah, there's a lot of hostage taking going on as well.
What do you do in a Pokemon hostage situation? Is there like an equivalent of SWAT?
Actually, see, to be fair, and again, this isn't explained in the games, but there was like a spin-off series called, I want to say Pokemon Origins, but I could be wrong. It was like these kind of shorts that kind of developed the world, and they are pretty cool, I will grant it that. But there's one where it's like the police are trying to raid Viridian Gym. They've got like a Machamp bursting through the walls, and they've got like Growlithe burning down the wall. It's actually pretty cool. See if there was a game like that. And I think, I can't remember if I'm remembering this right, but I think I've got Magnemites that like open the locks on the door. It's really goddamn cool. Like, see if you had a game like that where it was just like Rainbow Six Pikachu, I would play it.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, because you could send your Magnemites to like cut the power, the phone lines, and everything like that. That'd be good. Okay, so we've been taken hostage, but then the Pokemon SWAT have come and they've saved us. We're out and free. So you kind of touched on this briefly, but like, if you'd be able to elaborate a bit more, what's our like mode of transportation? Do we have to use Pokemon for that as well?
It depends what region you're in, because if you're in the region in Sun and Moon, you get something called Ride Pokemon. And Ride Pokemon, so can I just like completely off topic here, but there's a particular moment where you find one of the Ride Pokemon in a cemetery, and it's carrying this old woman. The reason he's carrying this old woman in a cemetery is because she explains to you, oh, my Machamp, which I'm presuming he was driving the car, because this is the only way I can think of how this Machamp and this guy got into a car crash, and it's said that the guy died, the husband of the woman died. So ever since then, like before the crash, the husband put the Machamp in a Pokeball. So ever since then, the Machamp's always hated Pokeball, so he tossed his Pokeball away. So that implies some kind of sentience or autonomy amongst Pokemon. Like if they decide, oh, I don't want to be in a Pokeball, they could just crush it like that.
That is terrifying, though, because as you say, what are you going to do to stop a Machamp? Yeah, get in your Pokeball. And as you say, what? A Machamp's just going to fold you up like cheap suit.
Do you know what? It's like really bad quality control in the Pokemon universe. In the game, you're supposed to like fight the gyms and you're supposed to defeat the Elite Four. And as a gameplay mechanic, it makes sense that the more badges you get, the more powerful Pokemon will obey you. In the real world, if we were living in that world, could you just buy a badge off of Etsy? Or is it like a spray they give you? Like,
how does a Pokemon tell as well? Like, I presume there's like the equivalent of scouts in the Pokemon universe. Can I just go up to like a Venusaur and be like, oh, like I have my first aid badge here in my knot tying badge, obey me? Is it going to like recognize that? Or
in the anime, it's implied that there's like more gyms out there. You know,
Okay,
like
yeah.
obviously in the games it's 8 gyms, that's your lot. But in the anime, it's like, oh, you've got this gym that's trying to be legit and trying to get his license or something. Who from? I don't know. The Pokemon League? And it's like, who's the Pokemon League? Oh, it's the Elite Four plus the champion. So it's like, I don't know, centralised power to decide who gets to own a business.
is that why there's so much crime here? Like,
Okay, here's a question for you. I have got a thought-out answer for this, but if you were the head of a criminal team, how would you take over the Pokemon world?
ooh, good question. So it seems that we're lacking central authority here. Is it terrible? Like, tell me if I'm a terrible... Well, I think I am a terrible person, but tell me how terrible a person I am. And my literal thought was, if I could find a way to gather the Elite Four together and toss a Pineco into the room, does that just wipe out any government and it's just pure anarchy?
Are you seriously taking the beginning of Johnny English
I think
to heart?
I just did.
Someone just stick a pine cone in a coffin.
Oh, I can't believe my first thing was murder the Elite Four. Like, rather than... Oh, I'm a terrible person. Please, stop me from saying any more. How would you, take over?
Mines would be very boring, and I had a very long discussion about this, both with myself and with a very vexed partner, about how I would take over the Pokemon world. It would be very boring, but I feel as if at the very beginning, you have to get money, so, how do you get money? You would have to, beat up the same child, every day, or the same row of children, as it were, or maybe trainers, maybe the odd cue ball or two, get their money, accumulate a small wealth, get a posse together, and then kind of work your way and try and weasel your way into, because I'm going to assume that there's only one major company producing Pokeballs and things like that.
Seems fair.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're probably different region-based ones, but I get the feeling there's a kind of a Disney one. You've got Silphco in Saffron City, but I feel as if they're probably an umbrella corporation or
subsidiary or whatever.
So you would try and get your way into there and try and get into a very prominent position, and then you would essentially seize the means of production. So what I'm saying is you would need to seize the Pokeballs, right? So if you manage to manufacture, if you manage to manufacture
Tsunami 2022.
If you manage to manufacture a shortage of Pokeballs, right, and you control the means of production here, all you have to worry about are the weirdos who can talk to Pokemon and get them to follow in their own free will. So you don't got to worry about them. So you can just send your goons out, which at this point they've got very well tailored suits because you're running a company at this point. You don't want them to look like street thugs. No. We've got dapper gentlemen to sort out that business. And then, I'm assuming there would be a kind of subsidiary of that company that, controls the potion market and the healing items. So basically what I would do, and this is going to sound very much like a parallel to real life, so I apologise in advance, but what I would do is I would start a war of information, okay? So I would slant the Pokemon centres and I would say, oh, your Pokemon will only get stronger if, you heal them on the battlefield with our items, whereas they're going to get weak and mushy. Because obviously level-headed people, they're not going to believe that, okay? But it's the strong idiots who are going to think, yeah, I want a strong Pokemon. And that's the whole ethos of Pokemon trainers who want to, they want to become strong, they want to fight everything. They'll accept anything you say because you're a reputable business. They bought a potion from you once, and it used to be 200 Pokédollars, now it's 1,000. And if you can think of the parallel, well done, because I'm not going to say it out loud. But then the only thing you would have to worry about is 10-year-olds trying to break in to stop your plan.
That's the one flaw you haven't factored in. The 10-year-old's going to mess you up.
Just build a gate or something. I don't know. A knee-high gate. Put a tree. Put a tree, because let's face it, you're never going to go into an enemy base with the move cut, are you? So you can't get by a nice firm bonsai.
I knew we should have hired a better security guard than that bonsai tree.
It's just a bonsai with a security cap on it. And then that's it. You would take over the world. And of course, you would get some splinter groups who would be oh, we're going to take over the planet with Mewtwo, Lugia, whatever legendary Pokemon you want to throw in there. And of course, with the shortage of Pokeballs, people would be demanding Pokeballs to try and catch this creature to stop the devastation. And then all the cards are in your hand. So tell me, Adam, am I a psychopath?
You have thought that through so well. I mean, I still like my plan of just chucking a pine cone to the Elite Four copy meeting, but I cannot fault her pure genius mustache twirling planning. That is one of the greatest master plans I've ever heard. What you just laid out. Apart from 10-year-olds messing it up, I can see no other flaws.
I mean, other than someone getting wise. I mean, you could just throw them out a window.
Exactly right as well. But you said about people getting wise. People are probably too busy worried. Oh God, did I turn my Charmander off before I left home today? Or is it going to burn my house down? Nobody has time to see your Machiavellian machinations occurring.
Now all I need is a team name. I mean, Team Pokeball Grabbers is probably...
That sounds like your team's into something else, I'm going to be honest.
Seize the balls of production.
I love it. Oh my God.
Yeah, the PR department got fired recently. I just want to point that out. We're sorting through some teething issues.
We'll come up with a rebrand for it. Oh my God. I love how when we left the house we were trying to just find Moo Moo Milk, and now you've plotted a way to seize power in the Pokemon universe.
Well, let's say it failed and that 10-year-old bet me up in the first hurdle.
Oh, no.
So we're back to Moo Moo Milk territory.
Right, okay, so again, I'm still looking for a mode of transportation, right, okay? And this brings me to another point, okay? So, do you know when you have a car in the real world, which we live in? Now, you have to be careful of its pollution and everything, and it has to get checked, and you can get fined if it's exceeding that limit. If I have a coughing, do I have to worry about similar things?
You know, all I'm thinking of is just the eco-activists of this world, just like catching all the coughings, and what would you even do with that? Like all the coughings, all the mucks, all the trubbishes, all these like pollution Pokemon, where would they go?
Because surely if you gather them together in one place, that's even worse.
Yeah.
And you would just kill yourself because, like, the amount of stuff that's being like pumped out into whatever location you're holding all these things into cannot be good for the human respiratory system.
Sorry, is that like in the Elite Four room?
Yeah, that's it. See, if I can't find any painkillers, I'll just let a ton of coughings go.
Do you know, what I love is the fact that you didn't even go for like Voltorb or Electrode, which are like the icons of blowing up in the series. You went for Pineco.
I don't know why I keep going for Pineco. It's the one that I just always remember explodes. So I just remember in the anime, Brock has one that just keeps exploding in his like face every time.
So yeah, technically you can ride Pokemon as well, but yeah, would you want to? Like, would you want to go to work on a Charizard's back? Because I'm going to be honest, Charizards are a lot shorter than I actually thought. They're like 5'6", I think.
Yeah, like that was so funny because I, like you, I always imagine Charizards to be like massive things from just seeing them in like box art and everything, but to hear it's like 5'6". Like, I know it can still like set me on fire, but it seems less intimidating though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as intimidating, does it?
Yeah, well, that's at least one less thing I feel like I worry about. I'm not going to like cower and fear the minute I see a Charizard.
But then again, can you imagine you're like out for your walk with your pet Growlithe or your pet Eevee or whatever, and then someone's like just walking their Charizard? You would not want to pick up their droppings.
Oh my god!
Did you just collapse there? Sorry.
To be honest, like my partner was telling me recently, so we have quite a small dog. My partner was telling me one time when she was out, she was walking by somebody who had a husky, and like while we use like fairly small poop bags to pick up our dog's dirt, this guy had like a carrier bag that he was using for this husky. So now I'm just imagining like, what the hell would you need for like a or like a Growlithe or something? What is there a bag big enough to pick up its crap?
Well, would it not just be on fire?
Oh my god, it'd be on fire as well. Oh, an unsanitary world. Just flaming shit everywhere.
Adam 2022.
Something's up like everywhere, just flaming shit everywhere. Oh my god. But can you take your Pokemon for a walk? If I'm walking and then, like, I see somebody else walking like Pokemon and I'm like, oh, evening, I've made eye contact and we have to fight.
Yes and no, because if you look at, and this shows how much of a Pokemon nerd I am, but if you look at Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the remakes of Pokemon Silver and Gold, you actually get the feature where a Pokemon can walk behind you, which in theory, absolutely is really cute and it's amazing. But people have drawn fan art of people walking in with like an Onix. And it's like, they walk into this Pokemon Center and they're like, hi there. It's just this Onix crashing through the ceiling. Because it's so goddamn big. That's just a nightmare. That's when you call the insurance people, though.
Does that count as like an act of God if an Onix like rips your ceiling into?
Probably. But what if you took in a legendary? See, this is the worry as well. Like, anybody could go up and catch a legendary. Can you imagine that? Just having that power in your hand and being like, what do I even do with this? I can't go to like the local tournament with a Mewtwo. Can you imagine like all these kids coming up and going, oh, I'm going to beat you with my Caterpie. Go Caterpie. And then you're like, I summon forth Arceus, god of all time and space. The bringer of the end. You would be shitting yourself. Like, even as an adult, I'd be shitting myself. I'd be like, oh, is this how we're going to play?
Do you know what's the only thing that would be worse than that? Right, okay, so we're out and we're still trying to get our Moo Moo milk. But
I like how we're still on.
We're still trying to get through it. We then meet somebody and they invite us to a dinner party. Or just a party they're having, right? Okay, and we go over there. All right, and we're getting to know everybody. Can you imagine there was somebody at the party who had caught a legendary Pokemon? How insufferable they would be all night as they just one-upped any story that anybody else picked up. Somebody would be like, oh yeah, well, you know, I had this massive fight with an Onix and I eventually caught him. But, well, let me tell you. Well, let me tell you about the time I caught Arceus. How insufferable would that be to be sitting there as this person just reeling off this one Pokemon story over and over again.
There's actually a character, I can't remember if his name's Tobias or something like that. That's really kind of your stereotypical, exactly who you would think of. In fact, I'm going to send you a picture of him right now as we talk. But he's got like the poncho, and he's got 2 Pokemon, I think, that are legendaries. Yeah, but he's got this weird, I don't know, is it a crop top jacket? What the hell is that? Hold on, let me just send it to you. Yeah, this guy.
Oh my god. What the hell do you call that? Did you say poncho? 'Cause it looks like part poncho.
It's some of the pictures it looks like a longer poncho, and then other ones it looks like a crop top.
Whoever it is, whatever you call that part would be insufferable to give any kind of contact with, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree with you though. It would just be, oh, look at me and look at my wonderful darker eye, as that picture shows, or oh, look at my wonderful, I don't know, Mew, Celebi, whatever. Can you imagine that coming to a dinner party and being like, oh yeah, I caught a
Metapod while I was out in Routine 4.
Yeah, I caught a Metapod out in the garden because it was leaving a flaming shit there. What about you? Oh yes, I caught the Guardian of Time, and it's like, I beg your pardon? Yeah, Celebi, it's in this ball. It's like, why the hell do you have the Guardian of Time in your pocket? Oh, Pokemon, gotta catch them all. Dude, you're gonna fuck up the timeline. We're gonna get Terminators because of you.
You are so right, though. Like, I never even thought about that. People's ability to just grab these virtual weapons of, like, mass destruction and just have them and just show them off at dinner parties.
But do you know there's, like, Pokemon Wars in the games?
Really?
Mm-hmm, yeah, in Pokemon X and Y, there's, like, a full-on Pokemon War, and because of that, there's, like, a super weapon they fire, and it, like, wipes out everybody.
Why?
And then this guy gets, like, cursed, and he lives for 3,000 years, and genuinely, I don't know. I feel as if that's when the series kind of went off the deep end. It was set in France, okay? It was set in Pokemon France. It was a different time.
Oui, monsieur. Is this like an interstate conflict?
I think it's a civil war. I don't think it's specified. Genuinely, I know, France Civil War. Cheese, baguette, you know, name another iconic duo there. But I actually don't know if it's like an intercontinental war, or it's just I actually don't know. I can't even remember. It's just a war anyway, and then they fire a super weapon, to which the boss is like, well, I want to fire it because your choices of legendaries in that game, and I kid you not, genuinely, I'm going to send you another picture, but it's either the choice between having a flying piece of bacon or Princess Mononoke's deer. And I'm not even exaggerating. For all the Pokemon fans out there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But have you seen the legendaries in this game?
No, not that I'm aware of. I am excited though to see. Oh my god, that is literally a flying bit of bacon, you weren't lying. What does it do? Like, what's its special powers?
I don't know, it brings darkness or some shit. I don't know. I didn't ask it round for dinner. Oh, that would be bad. If you had, like, the insufferable douchebag just like, ooh, I feel like some bacon. Let me just release my Pokemon. Oh, you're a dick.
This thing just flying around, like, the corners.
And you know for a fact someone would try and bring it down just to cook it out of spite. Okay, so we've left the dinner party because things are getting too real.
We still haven't got our milk yet. We still need to get our milk before we go back.
Yeah, so what's next for us then?
Right, what if I want to get a job in this world? I've just realised that I don't actually have the money to buy the milk because I've not got a job. What kind of jobs can I get here?
In a serious answer, if you're going by anime and like film logic, then there are different professions. You know, there are shopkeepers and things like that. But if we're going purely by game logic here, probably the quickest way is to beat children and like adults on the side of the road. Just
This is like a vicious cycle, basically, then. There's no way to escape. The only way for us to get money to buy the Moo Milk is to join this cycle of, like, getting Pokemon and then beating up other people's Pokemon and taking their money.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh my god, it's like prison rules out here.
I was going to say, it's like Bioshock Infinite. Break the cycle.
It actually is. Oh my god. Oh. Okay, so let's say, right, okay, so that's the only way we need to get a Pokemon. So we need to go beat up some kids, so we have to get a Pokemon. What's our first move to go get a Pokemon?
Well, we need to get a Pokeball. And
oh my god, we need money to get a Pokeball too.
Right, and what I say is we just jump the first kid with a Pokemon. Okay?
Right, that's a good point, right.
Okay, let's say we
are we
jump
taking his Pokemon?
Yeah, okay, why not? Let's just skip step 2. We'll take his money and his Pokemon. He's not going to need I don't know. Well, what would you have? Like a
You're take a
Rattata?
Pokeball off him, but you're like stealing his Pokemon now and everything.
Okay, here's the thing, right? See if we steal his stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say he has a Metapod, right? We release the Metapod, we brandish it as a weapon, okay? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry, continue. We're brandishing the Metapod as a weapon.
We command it to harden. Now, of course, hardens because it's terrified for its life. We start going in, Conan the Barbarian style, smacking. I don't know what Pokemon
Who are
do
we
you want.
attacking here? Wait a minute. Are we attacking the kid whose Metapod we just stole?
No. We're not barbarians here.
Wait, are we conducting like an armed robbery with a Metapod here?
We are now. Put the money in the bag.
Put the money in the Metapod. Let's go.
So let's say the heist went well. All this for a pint of milk. Okay, let's say the heist went well and the Metapods got us ample supplies. We've got our Pokeballs, we've got our money, we've got everything to catch our first Pokemon. Where are we going from there?
I feel like in classic Pokemon logic, we either have to go to a forest or we're going to go to a meadow.
Meadow.
Meadow, yes. I know you're not finding the forest, so we're going to go to a meadow. So what kind of Pokemon did we find in a meadow? Are we looking at like a classic Caterpies and Weedles and the like?
Yeah, it would ramp up the further you get into the region. So, you would start with your Caterpies, your Weedles, probably there's some Magikarp if there's a lake. You've got your Pidgeys, your Spearows, your Oddishes, again running away from the vegans. This lore we're building is incredible, by the way.
What do you think would be a good one to get as a starter?
Oof, that's a good question. Do you know what would be better? See if we went to like one of the starting towns. Before anyone like jumps on me for this actually does happen in Pokemon Gold and Silver, where your rival comes in and steals a Pokemon. I say we just wait till it's dark, and then just as the professor's leaving, okay?
We get our Metapod and we beat him
Yeah,
up.
just in the back of the head, smack him with a Metapod.
Nice, I like it.
Okay, so we run in, and we've got 3 choices. What's our options?
Oh, so I guess it's just like classic starters then. So we've got a fire, a water, and a grass type, basically.
Yeah, so it depends on the region, really.
What type would you be inclined to go for?
Well, probably not fire, because I brought this up to you before, but I have a bad enough time stopping my dog from chewing my house. To cinders. So, like, having my dog breathe fire or water would probably not be the best. I feel as if a grass type would be more mild and calm, but again, you would have to watch.
I've got a question here though, right, okay. I suffer from hay fever. Is this going to exacerbate my hay fever having a grass?
Okay, fine then. The grass is out.
Do you think it would?
Probably, because it knows, like, stun spore
Oh
and
my
things like
God,
that.
so we're going to get knocked out, basically.
All I'm saying is, I'm not going to be standing there battling and I say, oh, Bulbasaur, you stun spore. And you go, actually, I'm allergic.
actually-
It's like, oh, for...
Right, I tell you what, you made such an excellent point there about the fire and water damage. I'll risk the respiratory problems. We'll take the grass type. I'll get a mask or something and I'll be all fine.
Okay, so we've got our grass type. Are we just saying Bulbasaur? Or is there any...
I mean, I'm happy to say whichever. What's your favourite grass type?
I would say Bulbasaur,
Right, I'd say
to be honest.
Bulbasaur then.
Pokemon's one of those games where it's like, I love the designs of the starters and things, but if they were in real life, I'd be terrified. Like, in particular, Totodile, which is like this cute alligator.
Oh, yeah, that'll be pretty
But
scary.
I look at alligators in real life and I'm like, no, I would not have that in my house, sleeping on my bed. Imagine waking up and it's like, ooh, for alligator. It's like, no, fuck, get out of my bed. So yeah, we've got a cute Bulbasaur and a Metapod we're brandishing.
That's seen some shit now.
We're trying to make sure, so what we'll do is we'll go back to the Pokemon store and get like a sticker that says B on it, and then we'll slap it onto the Metapod so it can't evolve. Because you can't really press B in this universe. Like, to stop a Pokemon evolving, you press B. How do you stop a Pokemon
Oh,
evolving?
I love that. There's like genuinely a sticker that just does that. It's like just always slap on your Pokemon.
Well, let's say that's a makeshift solution. Whether or not it's going to pay off, we'll see.
Wait, why are we not evolving our Metapod?
Because it's a great blunt instrument.
Fair enough. I forgot about that. That's true.
Well, look, all I'm saying is, have you ever tried to hit anything with a butterfly?
Good point. We'll stick with the Metapod.
Yeah, okay, so we're going down West Side Story kind of way. Just clicking our
Fucking
fingers.
I love it.
Yeah, we've got Bulbasaur on one side, we've got our Metapod in hand. Okay, where are we off to next, Adam?
Right. Well, we're trying to get to a bigger town, aren't we? Because that way we can make some good dollars. Does that mean we have to go through a forest?
In the quickest way possible. In all honesty, I think the only justification for me getting a fire type in this universe is to keep away the beedrills.
It's to burn the forest down.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Burn it down and then call it an act of God.
Oh no, what a terrible accident.
Those damn Jotoians.
As your Cyndaquil is still like smouldering away, like, oh no.
Oh no, shh, go away, I'll pay you later. Here's the question though.
Yeah.
See if we do, like, let's say hypothetically the forest meets an unfortunate end and we do walk through it and we go to the first town. Are we battling the first gym or...
I feel like we're caught in the cycle. That's what I'm saying. Like, I genuinely feel like we've got caught in this vicious cycle now. I feel like we have to, because now that we have Pokemon, they clearly don't respect us that much because we've not got any gym badges. So to get their respect, we're going to have to get a gym badge here.
I'm sorry, are you implying that the Metapod we just used to commit, like, robbery is going to respect us? It's like, wow, I didn't respect him before when I was getting bludgeoned against the professor's head, but now he's got the Boulder badge. Ooh.
Like, let's face it, the only reason this Metapod hasn't run away right now is because it physically can't.
That is true. It's trying to evolve. We are just like duct taping it together.
Taping it to stop it. We just keep putting bee stickers on it, as you say. So I feel like we have to go get a gym badge now. We're trapped in the thing, and plus that will probably get us some good money, right? So we can finally get our milk.
So, of course, we roll in. There's clearly no Moo Moo milk. And are we going to make a beeline just straight to the gym leader?
Of course, because there's always a couple of lackeys, isn't there?
Do you know what I'm thinking? It's just like, I'll say to you, right, I'll handle them. You go to the gym leader. So you take Bulbasaur up, and I'm just going to be beating these, like...
You need help? You're like, nope, I got it here. Everything's good.
Nope, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Metapod taking a beating.
Oh,
Level 90 at this point.
I love the fact that the Metapod is gaining levels, just the fact that you're using it as like a fun weapon. I love that that is happening, because it totally would as well. Oh my god. Whoa, so we've got a grass type round, we're in a rock gym. So we should be pretty good to take out this guy, I feel like. So I feel like we're pretty much a cinch to get our badge. Let's say we get our first badge. Kind of feel like we need to get another one. I don't like the fact that we've got all the spaces left.
Here's the thing, though. Like, we've only got 2 Pokemon. Like a Bulbasaur
Oh
and
my god, we need to go catch some more and grind them up right back to the forest.
What about the milk, though?
Here's the thing, though, right? Okay, so do you know, like, when you're, like, leveling up in Pokemon games, it often involves you just walking your character up and down, like, bits of grass.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'd see that in, like, in the actual Pokemon universe? Would there be people just walking around patches of grass?
Probably. It would be, like, very inconvenient to walk in any grass without being grabbed by, like, I don't know, like a Rattata or something.
Do you think, like, as well, like, do you know how, like, some places in the real world there you see, like, on patches where it's, like, no ball games and stuff? Is there, like, no leveling up your Pokemon?
Probably. What, with just, like, a flaming pile of Charizard shit in the middle? It's like, I don't obey the rules.
Also, how tall does the grass have to be?
That is a good question, because in the later games, there's like grass that obviously is like probably ankle high, knee high, whatever. But in Ruby and Sapphire, it's like it covers your entire head. So like it's the size of an average 10-year-old. So where would that come up to us? Like our waist? Maybe?
Yeah, I feel like
waist
our waist. If I let my lawn grow enough, then does that mean eventually it becomes? I'm gonna have to worry about like people just wandering into my lawn to try and find Pokemon.
What if you were, though, just like cutting your grass and then all of a sudden... What if there were people trapped inside your grass? Just like, help, I've been here for 7 days. Yes, just closing the door back over.
I thought at first you were talking about what would happen if you cut your grass and you start running down all these Pokemon. You're like lawnmower. What the hell?
See, I was going to go that direction and I decided to stop because I'm the better man in this case.
Not me, I'll call you up on it.
But that's the thing, though. You wouldn't be able to cut your grass.
Because, like, Pokemon Peter would come round.
Pokemon Peter's a weird one, because, off topic, but that is one of the more interesting teams in, like, the whole Pokemon universe. That, and they dress like knights, which is pretty cool. Or, like, you know, the tunics and the hoodie things, which I think is sick. But anyway, sorry, my fashion appeals aside. They actually come to towns in groups, and their leader, like, comes out and he gives a big speech, and he's got, like, the wild hair and everything. Did you know his son, as well, talks to Pokemon?
Huh.
Like, he can actually understand Pokemon legitimately. He's not like a psychopath. But can you imagine that? You're walking along, and then this green-haired anime-looking mofo comes up, and he's like, your Metapod did what?
You're talking about Pokemon, hey?
Yeah, we've got a choice. Do we ignore the man, or do we silence him?
I think we're hitting with our Metapods.
Yeah, just run. Yeah, just hit him with the Metapod and run. The journey of the Moo Moo Milk is currently ongoing. And can I just say as well, this is a problem in particular for the earlier games like Red and Blue and things, where I don't think they quite knew how to portray Pokemon. You know, obviously it's its own world, it's got its own ecosystem and that, especially nowadays with 900 plus Pokemon, but at the same time, they had some, like, real-life comparisons, called Meowth, the cat Pokemon, Pikachu's like a rat, Lieutenant Surge in Vermilion City is the lightning American.
Yeah.
So the American army exists. I just want to point that out. Like, I know people will be like, oh, it's not canon anymore, but it's like, hypothetically, out of all the world, the Americans are there, and they've got an army.
Of course they are. Is that what armies consist of in this universe, though? Is it, like, majoritively Pokemon trainers?
It must be, because in his gym, you get people like, oh, I served under Lieutenant Surge and all this, and it's like, in what war?
What's going on here? Was it like fucking Pikachu storming Omaha Beach like on D-Day? Stuff like.
But that's the thing, though. It's like the whole Civil War I told you about, the one in X and Y, that didn't happen until 3,000. I think it's 3,000 years prior. So, like, what war was he fighting in? Because there's clearly dialogue saying, I served under Lieutenant Surge. It's like, how? Why? Where were America invading in the Pokemon universe? You know what? I don't even want to know. And there's also a Pokemon entry where it's like, I can't remember, I think it's Raichu, that they say its electricity is like strong enough to paralyse an Indian elephant. Why it specifies Indian elephant, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I can't like put my finger on why they're like, you know what, it's like really big and would take a lot of electricity to kill an Indian elephant. And it's like, why? Can we talk about another thing? So let's say, hypothetically, we blast through, you know, the first couple of gyms.
Yeah.
In every region, they usually have, like, a creepy city. You know, all the ones that the creepypastas are written after. They've basically got, like, a big city that's just a graveyard, essentially. And you're like, well, first of all, that's creepy as hell, but second of all, ghosts exist in this universe. But can I just point out, not just Pokemon ghosts, because you might be thinking, well, obviously you've got Ghastly, Gengar, Haunter, Shuppet, you know, those kind of Pokemon. It's like, no, I'm not even talking about those. I'm talking about real-life human ghosts.
Oh, God.
No, seriously. They're in X and Y, they're in, I think, Diamond and Pearl. You go into, like, a mansion, and there's, like, a young girl with her butler, I think, at one point. Yeah, there's loads of ghosts. And there's, like, a supermarket in Sun and Moon that's just infested with them.
A supermarket?
Yes.
Right, so we can't go there to get our Moo Moo milk, then?
Not in that region, no, because it's, like, abandoned. It's actually, I think it's the only place that I can remember off the top of my head that has a proper supermarket. Like, I don't mean, like, a convenience store or a department store. I mean, like, a proper trolleys, aisles, but because obviously it's abandoned, it looks more like a kind of Soviet era gulaggy, like, supermarket.
Right, so literally, this world, right, okay, this world that only has, like, as you say, small, like, poker stores and convenience stores and stuff, they opened up a big proper supermarket and everybody just went, nah, I'll just stick to going to the poker store. What loyalty to local business there is here.
You'd be surprised.
But, like, especially everybody here is now like, oh, I'll just Amazon it. It's like small businesses die off. Apparently, it's complete reverse in the Pokemon universe, if I'm understanding that right. It's like, get out of here, big supermarket chain. We'll let loose a ton of Ghastlies into your store.
Here's a very disgusting question for you, though.
God.
See if you had a water Pokemon. Let's say, hypothetically, you were in the desert, okay? Let's say you're in the Ore region, right?
God.
And Pokemon Colosseum, where you're in, like, this desert, okay? There's only one city, or maybe two, that have a water source, okay? The rest of them, it's pretty slim pickings, right? What if you had a water Pokemon with you? What if we chose Squirtle and we felt thirsty? Could we get it to vomit in a cup? Is that viable, or would we just be drinking his...
The questions that we've asked each other tonight are...
You wouldn't want to, but in desperate times, this is like the 127 hours later version of Pokemon.
How did we end up here? We went from milk, we've ended up in the desert. Right. Also, where have we got a cup from? Why did we carry a cup with us, but nothing in the liquid in the cup?
Okay, let's say it's like a crevice in the back of our damaged metapod, okay?
Oh, okay, right, okay. More horrifying, but also more believable. I think, but right, surely we'll have taught him some attacks.
Yeah, like water gun. But it's like, it's coming out of his mouth, though. Like, oh, thanks for this refreshing drink of Squirtle juice.
I'm going to be honest with you here. We're stuck in the desert, right? Okay. It's either we drink Squirtle's mouthwater or else we're drinking each other's pee. Like, there's literally the only options we have here, right?
I'm sorry, why each other's pee?
What, you want to drink? Oh, wait, or drink your own pee then? Fair enough.
I wouldn't want to drink either.
Oh, it might be not good enough to drink it. So, well, that's quite insulting too.
I would have liked to have been consulted before I was like, oh yeah. Imagine we're dehydrated in the desert and you just turn around with a random cup, like, here you go, drink my piss. Like, excuse me? The town's over there. You're like, there's no time, drink my piss.
Right, so are you gonna drink your own piss or are you gonna drink Squirtle?
I think I'm gonna.
Are you gonna stand in front of Squirtle while I say use water cannon? Keep your mouth up.
Oh my god! Imagine if it evolved into Blastoise.
Oh, we'd be dead. Can Pokemon attacks hurt humans?
Yes, but more in a comical way. Well, it depends. If you're going by game logic, yes, they can. That's why you black out. And I know in Legends Arceus, which is obviously set in the past, Pokemon do attack you.
Okay, yeah.
And in the manga, it's infinitely worse because they can literally kill you.
Oh, jeez.
The less said about that, the better. There was a funny thing I was reading where, apparently in the manga, there's like a scene where one of the dads of the protagonists in Ruby and Sapphire tries to control Rayquaza, which is like, you know, the big green serpent that flies around in the sky. Apparently, there's a scene in that, although he comes back to life, there's a scene where like he gets so injured trying to bring this creature down that he dies. The funniest thing as well is 2 seconds later, Team Magma and Aqua, I think, kick down the door, and Team Magma burn his body to make sure he can't do anything with it.
Wow.
I know, right?
Can we go back to talking about drinking squirrels? Oh, there's so much messed up stuff in this universe.
Okay, let's say we get out the desert, okay?
We drank from the water gun.
We did. We chose the bad ending, okay?
We only lost half our health.
I love how, like, we were getting badges, and then 2 seconds later we ended up in the desert. We're just like, well, this isn't Albuquerque. But here's a question for you. What would you say if I said to you these 2 words? Pokemon Multiverse. I'm not even joking, by
I
the way.
would say, go on.
So, the Pokemon Multiverse is a very real thing. I don't actually remember when it was established. I think kind of loosely and informally it was established when, you know, you have red version and blue version and it's supposed to be like 2 separate worlds. Which you think, okay, that's fair enough. You know, everyone goes on their own journey and everything. That's fair enough. But around the time of the 3DS era, when we were getting X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, you know, those games, by the time we actually got to those games, they started introducing a lot of wacky things. This is when, like, the big super weapon and genocide baiting started.
Oh, this is where they went for it, is it?
Yeah, this is the only thing I can think of because there's an extra story you can play at the very end of the game. Once you complete it in Alpha, Sapphire, and Omega Ruby, after you do that, it's like a new story made specifically for that game. And you bump into this girl called, I think it's Zinnia or something, who's like obsessed with getting Rayquaza, you know, the sky dragon that got someone's dad burnt. And she's obsessed with getting it, and you realise that there's a meteor heading for Earth. So apparently this meteor is going to destroy all life on the planet. Now the champion, keep in mind this is the champion of this region, probably the person with some of the most authority, well, ex-champion technically because you bet him, but you know what I mean, a champion of the region with authority. He goes into this laboratory and he suggests that they open a wormhole to send the meteor to another dimension, which is like heavily implied that this other dimension is like Generation 1 and 2, you know, the games that you couldn't connect to the other games.
That's one way to rewrite your canon, bloody hell.
Yeah, so it's like...
Terminator films didn't do that.
Well, they don't do it in the end, they close the portal.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But it's just the implication of that, though, that he was willing to commit genocide. It's like, what? I mean, I know Pokemon games are dark, but they just get silly levels of dark. I mean, as I said, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, you've got implications of like child abuse for characters, implications of mental abuse and things. It gets crazy, not to mention, of course, the car crash Machamp, which we already established. The fact he was going to say, oh yeah, let's just sacrifice another world for ours, for the greater good. And it's like, no.
What a horrible idea.
A couple of minutes ago, I was like riding a bike going do 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 do, and then 2 seconds later, it's like, oh, by the way, you're about to die. And it's like, what? So of course, the way they resolve that is you take control of Rayquaza and you burst open the meteor, and what's inside the meteor but an alien? I wish I was kidding. No, this is legit.
Wow.
It is actually an alien Pokemon.
Just when I thought I was getting the hang of this universe, and I'm like, right, I'm coming to grips with it now. I know how to go get myself a pint of milk and everything. You bring in some goddamn aliens.
No, really. So there are these aliens they introduced in Generation 3 called Deoxys, I think. They've got different forms and things, and they're weird. I don't know where they're from. I know they're supposed to be that kind of idea of, oh, the mystical, because there's other alien Pokemon that exist in the games. But on top of that, we also have another subset called Ultra Beasts, which the only reason I bring them up to the forefront just now is right now, as we record this episode, Pokemon Go is having a special event right now where you can catch Ultra Beasts and things like that, and essentially they are separate creatures from Pokemon. They're like a kind of subset of Pokemon that live in their own dimensions, and some of these things are just nightmare fuel. They made these videos of these creatures coming into our like world, and there's like ones that are like as tall as skyscrapers. There's one that's like literally a mosquito with muscles. That's all I can describe it as. He's called Buzzwole.
A mosquito with muscles.
You've got that. You've got a jellyfish that can attach itself to people like a parasite and basically take over their mind. You've got one that looks like an origami figure, but it's like a katana, or it chops things up like a katana. You've got one called, I think it's Guzzlord, which is like a massive, never-ending eating machine. You've got this like dark version, which I have to admit, I didn't play these games, but it's like an Ultra Sun and Moon, where it purposely latches on to the legendaries to create like this really horrible twisted abomination.
Oh, this is fun. You've also got one that looks like a clown wearing like a Daft Punk helmet.
Oh yeah.
Blacephalon.
Do you see what I mean about the Ultra Beast though?
Yeah, these ones are I really don't want to meet any of these.
These honestly look like something out of like a Five Nights at Freddy's game.
Oh my god, they actually do as well. Does that mean as well there's like the Pokemon equivalent of Area 51?
I wouldn't be surprised. Would it be Lieutenant Surge that was like in charge of it?
That's where he was at. The war against the Ultra Beasts.
But I mean, these Pokemon are so powerful that they can actually, and I'm going to send you a very lovely picture, and I hope you can get to sleep after this.
I mean, Sleep is not going to come visit me tonight, so send away.
Well, here is a picture of it's a Buzzwole, and it is sucking the life juice out of Snorlax.
Oh my god! Oh no!
That's actually an episode of the anime, yeah.
Why? Like a deflated balloon.
Apparently the Snorlax is fine because anime logic, but...
I refuse to look at that imagery again, I'll be honest. I threw my phone across the room after seeing that.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a particular episode in the anime where they're hunting down Ultra Beasts and a Buzzwole comes through and it starts like attacking different creatures and it comes face to face with a Snorlax and it literally dives its beak in. And if anybody's seen Dragon Ball Z, it's very similar to the way Cell absorbs people, where it's like this big insect monster that like sticks his tail in and he sucks out like everything inside. Oh, it's horrible, it's nightmare fuel. But they decided to make that a Pokemon. So not only do we have to worry about the Beedrills, we've got to worry about like their jacked up cousins coming out of a wormhole.
The Beedrills don't seem so bad now, to be perfectly honest, after like the thought of like having to deal with organised crime. This goddamn Buzzwole. I miss the Beedrills now. I miss the Beedrills in my dry Machamp flakes.
Well, we're nearly there.
I didn't know how good I had it.
We're nearly there. We've got our Metapod, and I don't know if Bulbasaur's still with us, is he?
Oh, I hope for a sec he's not.
Where are we going next, Adam? Where's our final destination?
Right, so we crossed the desert, right, okay. We crossed the desert. We visited Area 51 and met the Ultra Beasts. Are we still in Kanto, are we?
Well, technically the desert region is probably somewhere far, far to the east or west.
Right, okay, we're in a different region now. Okay, right. What can we even do? What can we do? We must have made some money along.
Well, the stolen money that's stashed in the metaverse.
Can we sell our stories? Is there like newspapers in here?
I think so, yeah.
Can we sell our adventure story to a newspaper? We can talk about how... Well, you can talk about how you drank your own pee, and I can talk about how, I drank Squirtle's...
Squirtle juice, yeah.
Oh! That's literally going to be the headline right there. Peter will come up and throw more red paint on me for that.
Because, I mean, let's face it, see if you were going on holiday, it would be an absolute nightmare anywhere you went. Because one region, I don't know if you're very familiar with this region, but it's called I brought it up earlier, that's the Ore region. Technically, it's like spelled Ore, but I think someone in the trailer said Ore region, so everyone says Ore. Let's say Oreo region, okay? The Oreo region is based off of, I think, the Phoenix Desert, so it's pretty hot to begin with.
Pretty warm.
And I have to admit, that's pretty cool. That seems like a more realistic take in the Pokemon universe, because you've got like this barren desert, you've got Team Snag'em, as I said, and then you've got the bloody geneticists that hide themselves underground and they decide to experiment on, all these different Pokemon, and they have shadow Pokemon, which apparently, didn't realise this, they strip like all the personality and free will out of them, and they just make them like a shell that's like perfect for fighting. So, not to mention Mewtwo as well. Do you want to know a fun fact about Mewtwo?
Oh, I always want to know some fun Mewtwo facts.
Well, according to the manga, he had a big spoon. I just wanted to point that out. That's got no relevance.
Good to know.
Because he was a psychic, so it's like, what can we do to make him look like a psychic? Give him a spoon. Seriously, I'm going to send you another picture of this. Mewtwo with spoon, because it's...
Better not be as horrifying as the last one you said.
Well, hopefully not. Mewtwo with spoon.
Mewtwo.
So basically, he is the one who's trying to get our Machamp flakes.
Has this been his dastardly plan all along? He just wants some of them. Oh my god, that is a joke. You get my whole pack with that?
You could eat your house with that.
Good. Oh my god. Mewtwo's after our Machamp flakes now.
Yeah, he's trying to stop us from getting the milk because he knows, right? He knows that if we get the milk, that's game over. We're going to be eating them and they're going to get soggy. I just love the image that after all of this, we'll be walking around with a packet as well of Machamp flakes.
Oh, we so dried out in the sun of the desert. Oh,
no, worth it though. Worth it.
Worth it when we get some moo moo milk and we're gonna have our dried out, sand covered Machamp flakes. I can't wait.
With a nice tall glass of Squirtle juice.
Oh, a little chaser of your piss to wash it.
Just a dram. So going back to the fun Machamp, the fun. I can't get Machamp flakes in my mind. Could we just go into marketing instead?
I feel like that's where our talents really lie.
Yeah.
Can we go to university? Is there like education system in this one? Can we go get a degree?
Here's the thing though, there are Pokemon schools, but you never really see any Pokemon universities, so can we just assume that everyone in the Pokemon universe has like the education level of a 10-year-old?
You just leave. You leave primary school and it's like, right, off to the meadows in the forest to get your Pokemon.
But that would explain why there's like all of these kids running around in adults saying, oh, do you know what would make the world better? Like, especially for Ruby and Sapphire, this isn't a hot take, but it's like, you know what would be better if we had more sun? No, I think it'd be better if we had more rain. You have the mindsets of a 12-year-old at best. What are you thinking? But sorry, back to the quick Mewtwo fun fact. In the film, there's actually a whole deleted 5-minute sequence where they introduce the idea of cloning. It's not in the games, but technically there is a glitch that you can use in Pokemon Silver to clone Pokemon, so I'm going to count it. Cloning exists in this world, okay? In the film, like the very first 5 minutes, Mewtwo is like a younger version of himself and he's kind of floating around, and he meets this young girl within his dream, and he meets the 3 like main starters. He meets Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle, and then they all slowly start disappearing in front of his eyes. Flashback to the real world, and it turns out they're all real, but in like jars and flatlining.
Oh my god.
And the whole experiment was to try and bring a doctor's daughter back to life. It got pretty dark in Generation 1, I have to say. And that's not including if you're walking to the shops and you see like a child flying over you because a ghost type Pokemon him, tried to kidnap him.
Do you know what this world really needs? It really needs some like bureaucratic regulation. It needs some red tape.
It really does. I'm sure there's like regulations and rules, but it's only the badge system. Can you imagine
It's not enough.
Can you imagine the counterfeit system? The amount of Etsy stores would blow up in this universe. You're like, oh, do you want a funky Earth badge or something? And it's like, oh, I can't wait, I'm wearing an Earth badge. The local authorities can't police why a Machamp beat his trainer to death, even though he had an Earth badge. It's like, sources say it could have been a fake. It's like, of course it's a fucking fake.
Do you know what the gyms really need? They need like a guest book or something like that, so you have to sign on the way out.
All of this for a pint of milk.
This milk better be good, because I could have easily just gone out and just milked an Oddish to begin with. Save myself this trouble.
Is that better or worse than drinking Squirtle juice?
You know what? I still think milking the Oddish is something about it. I don't know how you milk it. Like, I don't know. I want to know.
It's like you're that scene out of Meet the Parents. I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
There's an Oddish sitting there at our dinner party, just like saying that to us. Like, I hope I like moo moo milk. And again, I'm like, that's a bit too bitter for me.
What if you don't like it though?
Well,
You do know they sell them for like, I think it's like either, is it 500 or is it 5,000? I can't remember. I think they sell them in bulk, so we could literally have like a crate of them. Here's another fun fact. I don't know if you remember this from the old games. Slowpoke tails.
I remember. Is the Slowpoke tail like a shell?
No, well, there's that as well, but no, it's more to do with chopping off the tails, because like this was a whole business plan by Team Rocket. They were going to chop off the tails, and they said, oh, it doesn't matter because they don't feel pain and it grows back. So then they sold it as like a tasty snack.
And this is a game for kids, right?
Can I just say, this was in silver and gold. This wasn't like a later Grimdark edition.
This is still very early on in the whole. The things you have told me over the course of this episode, I don't think I'll ever be able to wrap my head around.
Here's a question for you. Would gaming be the same in this world? Right, because can you imagine trying to make a video game more fantastical than what's outside?
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, what kind of video game would there literally be like a massive cry for like simulation games where we can simulate just having a boring job?
That's a good point.
And also, what Pokemon is helping you develop your game?
Probably Porygon. Then again, it would give you a seizure. All I'm saying is Porygon was framed. Porygon was framed. I just want to say that.
Just a support gun.
It was, seriously. Do you know the story behind that episode?
No. What's it?
So there was an episode very infamously known called Electric Soldier Porygon, where they go into cyberspace with Porygon and they're supposed to stop Team Rocket. Now there's a particular and very infamous scene where there's like missiles fired at them and Ash says, oh, Pikachu, fire a Thunderbolt or something, and they hits them and the missiles blow up. But then there's this sequence of like red and blue lights that flash at the same time, and you know that caused epilepsy for a lot of children across Japan, so therefore the episode wasn't actually brought out here.
Yeah.
But because of that, they never brought back Porygon into the show again.
Oh no. Aww.
Yeah, like I think he gets a cameo in one or two shows, but because of the infamous connotations, Porygon got stitched up. That's all I'm saying.
Man, justice for Porygon, as you said.
Look how they massacred my duck boy. See, in all honesty, see if I had a Pokemon in real life, I probably would choose Porygon. I mean, I'm always on my computer, and it would be nice to have a Pokemon to go in and be like, oh, this is the problem. What? You've not edited it. Can you edit a Porygon, please? Pretty please. But as I feel as if I had something like, I don't know, Magmar, like, can you imagine? Like the big duck with the ass head.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose you couldn't really take that one to like a Pokemon beauty pageant, could you?
Oh, there are Pokemon beauty pageants, actually.
Oh, I can believe. That's the one thing that I can actually sit here and believe.
There's also battle towers as well, which, see if I'm honest, I don't see the point. I feel as if it's like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and then it's like next door, there's like a smaller buffet. Well, I've already had my fill next door. Why would I go here? Well, you gotta battle more. You gotta prove you're the best.
How else are we going to level our Metapod up?
Well, that's true. By this point, he's level 99 and he's trembling in our hands.
So many dents and... Oh, God, poor Metapod. He's been through too much.
Have you ever heard of the episodes of the anime where it's like he has to say goodbye to his Butterfree?
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
What would we do for the Metapod? Just throw it off a cliff? Goodbye.
Why?
Well, not throw it off a cliff, but...
Get rid of the evidence, you mean?
Well, let it evolve, and then that way we can throw the shell off.
Yeah, well, we can throw the shell away with all our fingerprints after we've dusted it down.
So here's a fun point for you. Did you also know that there's an international police in this
There is?
universe? Mm-hmm. And there's a guy called Looker who looks like a David Tennant looking person if he was in Pokemon. He's like an international agent of... I don't know what they're called. They're just like called the International Police. Yeah, can you imagine getting hunted down by him and then you're like, okay, we've got to escape, and then you end up in, I don't know, Sinnoh, where the time and space creatures are, and then you fall through the... There's also a dimension to hell.
Why?
Well, it's called the Distortion Realm, and it's like everything's upside down, everything's warped, and it's like this big demon hell creature called Giratina that presides over it. So you've got Arceus up above and you've got Giratina down below. Where would you go with this? I mean, I feel as if they've got their whole pantheon of creatures.
It literally feels like that. I did not expect to be talking about religion after a minute.
Here's a question for you. What kind of religions do you think there would be in the Pokemon universe?
Oh my god. I imagine it being like, I can totally see old human religion where it's like, the sun is really powerful and like burns things, let's worship that. Like, I can just imagine people picking like the most powerful Pokemon and being like, let's worship that in the hope that it won't burn us alive.
Yeah, there would be a lot of legendary worship, wouldn't there?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like, I feel like Mewtwo would have a big cult following.
I'm just imagining a group of people in robes with like big spoons. All hail the cereal giver.
Spoons out for Mewtwo.
Would you say that you would go after the Elite Four after or would you just go home and just drink your milk?
No, I would go back to my original plan. I would chuck a pineco in. That's the thing though, right? Okay. To get this milk, right? Okay. Let's just review what we had to do to get this milk. We had to mug a child for his Pokemon. We then had to use a Metapod to commit armed robbery. We then assaulted a professor and stole a Bulbasaur. We may have burnt down a forest. I'm still not clear whether that actually happened or not.
Yeah, that's neither proven nor denied.
We got a couple of gym badges and some more assault charges. We've crossed a desert where we've drunk some questionable liquids. Right, after all that, if I'm having some milk, I feel like my bar has been reset for like what gives me satisfaction in a rush right now, and I'm not sure Moo Moo Milk's going to cut it. I feel like I'm going to have to take down the Elite Four just to get some kind of adrenaline rush.
Well, so are you just going to rush in with the die-hard Bruce Willis outfit on, milk bottles strapped to your chest, just coming in saying, I'm here to pedal, and you just glass them with the bottles?
With the bottles?
Yeah, the bottles of Moo Moo Milk.
Oh, of course,
yeah. Because they'll come in glass bottles, surely. Just glass them with that. There you go, you're the champion. They sell them in bulks of 6, okay? So assuming...
I still have 2 to drink.
Well, assuming you can get the jump on them, that's like 2 spare.
Once I toss a coughing into the room and they're all like choking out, it'll be easy.
It's like I can imagine you throw the 2 at the champion and they miss. The champion says, you missed. And you say, I wasn't aiming for you. And I've got the Metapod held up like the bat and I just swing it and the bottle just smacks him on the head.
Oh my god. Like, literally, I'm just imagining now as well that like we were just like, right, Metapod, we're going to let you evolve and get you go free. And just before it did, we were like, oh, hang on, wait, we take the Elite Four out and we just slap the B-sticker back on it for a thing again.
Sorry, old friend, we need you one last time.
This Butterfree is literally going to kill us the minute we let it free. I don't think we can ever let it Metapod evolve.
So the police are coming. How do we escape prison? Is this when we actually take over the region?
God.
When I pitch my plan to you to take over?
Oh my god, we need to get a Pokemon with Dig.
Here's the thing though, how do Pokemon prisons work though? As you said, you've got Pokemon that can like dig through.
Can we take our Pokemon in with us to prison? What happens if Big Jim and like Cell B makes eye contact with us?
What, my emotional support Metapod?
Exactly.
What, so is this as prison rules establishing us as the alphas of the prison yard?
Yeah, we literally have to go take down Big Jim's book. We have to go bean Big Jim in the back of the head of the Metapod our first day in.
But what if Big Jim's like had a similar plan to us and he's got like a Kakuna that's also battered and it's got a bee? Like, do we find like
We'll
common?
both be sharing space in the infirmary then.
Do we find like common ground? And it's like that scene out of Predator, where it's like, Big Jim, you son of a bitch.
Oh, then we go on wild adventures with Big Jim after this.
Yes, and the Pokemon world was literally never the same again.
How much more damage can we do to a place that's considered sending a meteor to an alternate dimension, has ghosts, aliens, rampant organised crime?
You've also got orphans that fight crime.
Of course you do.
Pokemon X and Y post-game, look it up. I'm trying to think what else I'm missing. Because not only do you have like ancient creatures, like can you imagine? So Scotland is very well known for its countryside, it's very bountiful, and you get all these like rolling hills and fields. Can you imagine just walking through and then one day accidentally stepping into like an ancient temple or something? Is there like a heritage site organisation here?
There must be something. I mean, how effective they are is another question when we have like freaking legendary Pokemon like stomping about.
That's not to mention the giant Pokemon, the Dynamax ones in Sword and Shield, where all it takes is a balding businessman to be like, yes, I want to release this creature that's not going to awaken in 1,000 years. It's like, why? Why? You have no plan. And it's like, well,
That'll come to me afterwards.
yeah, exactly. It's like, well, what were you planning here? What was your hopes? What was your dreams? Why would you do this? Why? And then, of course, you catch a creature and it's like half the size compared to what it was when you fought it. So you're like, well, I'm clearly downsizing, so why would you catch it? You know, imagine bringing that to dinner parties. People would laugh at you. And then you could bring about the end of the world. But at the same time, people would laugh at you. The sting's still there. You could live out the rest of eternity in darkness, but at the same time, you're just like, well, even to the last...
The shame will never go.
Tell the shame.
That time you embarrassed yourself at a dinner party will never vanish.
Yes, the sweat of your brow as you lamented of the crying of the Pokemon, drinking your moo moo milk on your throne.
Oh, a wild ride this has been.
But I mean, between that, between how the economy would work, as you said, it's a vicious cycle, how healthcare works, because I know technically there are hospitals. There's not hospitals in the games. Or in the anime and things, but yeah, it's wild to think that hospitals are prioritised for Pokemon. Imagine if it was like here, but instead of the NHS serving people, it was like a vet version.
Pokemon are the valuable commodities here, like human beings are just grist for the mill or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, but what health benefits or what benefits in general would you get from a job? Like, you know, in America you get like healthcare, dental care, that kind of. What would you get out of a job in Pokemon?
Do you know what you'll get? You know what the healthcare will be like? Was like, we'll take care of your Pokemon for you. That'll be the healthcare benefits.
I think that's like just a one-stop ride, or rather one-stop excuse to burn down the building or something.
Pretty much. I see no other option for us here.
It's the nuclear option, to be fair. So, is there anything else you want to comment about the Pokemon world? Anything about this magical, lovely realm of fantasy and death?
Can I circle back to one of your very first statements in this episode? This universe is a living hell. You know what? I thought you were being very extreme when we first started this. Why would anybody ever want to live here? This is trying to get a bottle of milk and look what we did. This world is disease. It turns people into monsters.
Pocket monsters.
Yeah, exactly. Pocket monsters. The pocket monsters were us all along.
You know how, obviously, when Pokemon die, it's implied that some turn into, like, ghost Pokemon?
Is that where the ghost Pokemon come from?
Well, I have no idea.
This sounds like a good research opportunity, if nothing else. So
Yeah, but, like, as I said before, you've got, like, ghosts that are humans, so can you catch a human ghost? Or, not that you would want to, mind you, but what if you were trying to catch, like, a Gengar or something, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, I've caught the girl from the ring. What am I supposed to do with this? You've just got a Pokeball with black hair sticking out. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this?
right, remind me never to open these Pokemon.
Oh no, do you know what you could do actually? Send it to the, like, head of Southco, right? Then that's when we take our aggressive takeover of the company.
Oh my god, perfect.
And then we start, like, our business. So then we could have, like, a Zoom call, and it would definitely seem cool from our end, but it'd probably be all staticky and everything. But it could be like, do we have your attention now, Mr. Silvco? Yes, the Pokeballers are back at it again.
Like Pokemon grab ball. What was it in the grab Pokeball? Oh my god.
I grab the means of production, grab the
Grab the balls
Pokeballs.
of production. Is it?
Grab the balls of production, that was it. Just, this world
I
is...
love how we started a political movement as well.
I know. So if you'd like to join our movement, you can check us out at podpage.com/Satsunami. For legal reasons, this is a joke. You'll only find past episodes there. Are you still my friend after this?
I mean, I feel like I have to. We've committed so many crimes. I think we're connected to the hip now. There's no us and Big Jim. There's no separating the gang.
Well, that is indeed true. If we're not in an underground lair building, kidnapping people or building super weapons, or what happened to Pokemon? Like, I know this is the Pokemon I always bring up when I think of, like, you know, a dark, gritty Pokemon, but the one that always gets me is the sandcastle Pokemon, where there's like official art of Pikachu getting devoured by a sandcastle, and it's like, why?
Why, indeed.
There's so many messed up Pokemon. Like, there's a tree ghost Pokemon that apparently lures kids away.
Why?
As I said, there's a balloon ghost Pokemon that tries to drag children away, but because it's too light, it can't. So kids think, oh, it's playing with me. And it's like, no, it's trying to kidnap you. I think that kid would grow up with A, severe anxiety for both thinking, oh my God, I was going to get kidnapped, and B, was I too chunky to get kidnapped? So...
Oh my God! There's just horror around every corner here.
I mean, it's mostly ghost Pokemon, but there's also like jellyfish Pokemon that actually drag you to the bottom of the ocean. I think it's Jellicent or something like that. They'll drag you to the bottom of the ocean. Like the whole ocean. I am not travelling unless it's on like a boat. I'm not travelling on the back of a Gyarados. Screw that noise. There's no way. What with all the tentacles and tentacruels, Gyarados as well. Do you know what would be kind of cool, but definitely it would be at the bottom of the food chain? Far-fetched. I mean, it comes with its own leek. Come on.
Look, I was just thinking that it comes with a side dish, basically.
Do you know what's terrifying as well? There's some like food-based Pokemon. Like there's one that literally looks like a moose.
Oh my!
And not like a Canadian moose, more like a creamy moose. There's a dragon that looks like an apple. You know, there's sick people out there who clearly would be, I want to try it. I don't know if you've seen these videos, by the way, but there's been a wave of videos on, I don't know where they've come from, but they've started popping up on TikTok, and it's basically showing you people putting down like what you think are sleeping Pokemon, and then you see like the animation, and you see them chopping up the Pokemon and then serving it as like a dish. On the one hand, it's absolutely horrific, but on the other hand, you're like, you just know if the Pokemon world was real, there would definitely be, like, can you imagine going into a restaurant with Little Timmy and his Bulbasaur, and it's like, oh yes, we'll have the salad, Bulba salad, or the grilled Charmander.
So what, rather than like a bring your own booze type thing, it's like a bring your own Pokemon to eat.
Oh, what, a Korean barbecue? No, not like that. No. Well, just like Pokemon laid. Oh, that would be horrible.
Here's one for you, though. Here's one for you to consider. You know, Ditto. Can a Ditto turn into any food item?
I don't like where this is going.
Just something to ponder. Something to ponder at the end.
Well, it can literally turn into anything, but it's got those two beady eyes and the wee smile, so...
Yeah, you just know it would be enjoying it as well, which...
Oh, like, would it not be like eating Play-Doh, though?
It could be, but what if it's like... Here's the gamble. What if it's like eating a fine steak?
Why would you want to risk that? It'd be like eating the fat off a steak.
But you don't know. What if it doesn't have that taste?
Do you know what I was actually thinking? And this is probably a plan for your world domination with the Elite Four. If you got a Ditto, right, to transform into food, so then the Elite Four are like, oh, yummy, our smorgasbord is here. And then they go to take a bite, and then the Ditto just stays in their throat.
I love it, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like death by Ditto. In fact, I think in the manga, they use Ditto as like a face mask. So it's like they change your appearance, which I think is actually really cool, to be fair, but Ditto's a weird one. Thank you for not going to the way of questioning I thought you were going to go with Ditto, because as I said, we're going to go for the very highbrow.
Only highbrow here, that's all we do, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Talking about drinking Squirtle juice and, beating up kids for their Metapods. This is going to be a weird episode to edit, I just know it.
What happened to us, Sass?
We went to Pokemon Land, that's what we did.
Of course, that's what happened, it changed us.
I just can't wait for next week until we talk about, like, living in the Sonic universe.
It can't be worse.
Oh, do you want to bet?
I mean, we'll detail our journey to get some echidna milk.
Oh, no! Do echidnas, you know what, I don't even want to know the answer to that.
Well, you don't, nobody wants to know the answer to that one.
in case you thought, oh, the Pokemon world would be lovely and it'd be fine, have a long, hard look in the mirror.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. In fact, one final question here, right? As I said before, Porygon would be my choice of Pokemon. If I had to have a Pokemon in real life to go through my computer to help me with editing, that kind of thing, what would be your number one Pokemon to take into real life?
I feel like you picked a really good one because you got like a practical reason for it.
And it can't be Pineco, because I'm not sitting at my computer and I hear like a Pineco smash my window, and I'm like, what's this? And then you're away with my Porygon.
That would be an amazing one to get. Do you know what? Part of me just wants something like a Wooloo. I don't know why. Just because it looks like a sheep, and I'm like, do you know what? Like, at least I kind of know what a sheep does.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to use my pseudo Digimon here to edit. What are you going to use yours for? You just go over and it's just like bleating in your face, like
eating grass, etc. But I know what I'm getting into.
That just sounds wholesome, to be fair.
Do you know what? It's like Shaun the Dead. I want to be somewhere familiar. I want to be able to smoke. I want to know where the exits are. That's what a Wooloo is to me.
We'll head down to the old Charizard Arms, wait for all of this to blow over. See, in all honesty, if there was like an attack by like a group in the Pokemon universe, like no matter what group, whether it's Team Rocket, whether it's Team Magma, Aqua, Galactic, Plasma, Flare, don't care about the rest. You know, if there was an attack on the world, you would be screwed though. Not everybody has a...
Oh, I thought you meant me and my Wooloo.
Oh, that's true, yeah, but no, like, not everybody's trained for battle. We don't live in a Spartan warrior society where we train.
I think we do if we're living in the Pokemon universe. I'm going to be honest, I think we do live in basically Sparta. As I said, look what happened to us trying to get milk. We got forced into a part of the cycle. I think we do live in a highly militarized society, Pokemon.
Can you imagine the self-defense videos? Imagine the...
Get a Pokemon.
Step 1, get a Pokemon. Plan B, get a gun. Will that help with the Pokemon? Because, I mean, guns do exist in the Pokemon universe. I will say that. Guns do.
No, that's good to know.
Well, at least in the anime. How that came about, I don't know. It kind of seems pointless.
Is there a gun Pokemon?
When Blastoise Gigamaxes, then he gets like a good few cannons, which would be great in a siege, to be honest. Just involve him in
We're involved in medieval siege next time. We'll be sorted.
If you forgot your keys, just like Dynamax them and, you know, get them to
blast through your walls.
Yeah, blast through the door. At least
the insurance will cover it, I'm sure.
I feel as if at this point, like, obviously this isn't a problem in the UK, but you would have like a hurricane bunker for the Pokemon world. You'd have a Pokeproof bunker. You're like the Anderson shelters or something.
Just dug out in my back garden.
Oh, God. Do you know what the amazing thing is? I bet you if we came out of the house and we went to our right instead of our left, there's probably like a nice shop there that was giving away Moo Moo milk for free. There was like free jobs going. Could have had like a paradise. And we chose violence, Adam. We did
choose. It's the world, though. The world made us choose violence, I'm convinced.
Well, all I can say is life is not an anime, Adam.
After recounting this, I'm kind of glad in a way.
I'm actually curious to hear if you would want to do more episodes on us living in different universes, because as fun as this episode is, it's very eye-opening to hear that I don't think I would like to live in the Pokemon universe.
I think we can conclude this is not where I want to move to if I get an option. But no, to answer your first question, I'd be completely down for doing more of these. This was, as eye-opening as this was such a blast to do as well, do all that. So I think we could return to this topic. I have a premonition.
110%. And yeah, to all the lovely listeners at home who are still listening, first of all, apologies. Second of all, thank you for listening. And yeah, if you want to hear more of our content, whether it be Poke Thoughts or just thoughts in general, you know, if you want to hear about our Machamp flakes or... you want to hear about anything else other than Pokemon after this episode, please feel free to head over to podpage.com/Chatsunami, or also check us on Spotify, iTunes, or really any good podcast app. As long as you look out for the red panda, it will definitely see you there. But until then, stay safe, stay awesome, stay hydrated, and close your windows because there might be a bee drop coming in.